y'all, Dixie here. Today I want to tell y'all why I hate making gear videos, but also why I'm going to continue to do so. I decided to record this video about hating gear videos from my gear closet because it just seemed appropriate. And I know several of y'all have mentioned in the past, like, hey, I want to hear about some of that gear in the background. Well, you can. In the video description, there is a video detailing all of the stuff in this closet. First things first, if I'm being completely honest, I'm not a gear nut. So that's one of the reasons I don't enjoy making backpacking gear videos. I've tried to be a gear nut. I've tried to care about it enough to keep up with the cutting edge technology of backpacking gear, but I just suck at it. I do want to be knowledgeable and helpful in the field of backpacking gear because I have a backpacking channel. So I do try to keep a handle on it somewhat, but it's not something that I just, can't wait to get the next email about. Thankfully, y'all let me know in the comments, and Aaron, the editor of this channel, keeps me in the loop about backpacking gear. So I have been able to somewhat keep a handle on it. So that brings me to my next point. Because I'm not a big gear nut, the gear type videos are my least favorite to actually sit down and make. I always try to be detail oriented and make sure I include all of the specs of the gear that I'm testing out or introducing, but I don't actually enjoy researching and finding all those little nerdy details. I prefer to tell you how the gear made me feel out in the field, how it performed, how easy it was to use, user-friendly for somebody who's sitting down to use it for the first time, or if it's something that I feel like you should really practice in the backyard before you go. That's what I enjoy sharing more than anything, but the details and specs are very important. And next, I hate shopping. I know it's probably rare to hear a female say that, but I do. I don't like it, and I don't like it even if it's from the comfort of my own home, researching specs and details on all this different backpacking gear. I get bogged down in that stuff. I get indecisive, and I don't enjoy shopping. And when you are selecting new backpacking gear, it's important to weigh out pros and cons of different packs, different weights and carrying capacities, etc. So yeah, actually purchasing the gear to test out, I kind of dread it. Another reason I hate making informational gear videos is I don't like criticizing the work of other people. I don't know, I would just hate to create this gear that I'm super proud of and I put out there in the world of backpacking, and then this, influencer with a YouTube channel just cuts me down and says my product is garbage based on personal preferences. But I definitely do owe it to my audience to be completely transparent about how I feel using a piece of gear. So I am, with respect to the manufacturer, of course. But that's also why I make such a big point in almost all of my gear videos to say, this is why I did not fall in love with this particular piece of gear. These are the pros and cons in my opinion, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna have the same deal breaker or selling point that I did. So I tried to explain the whys of, my pros and cons so that people can see if they relate to that. They may feel the complete opposite, which brings me to another consideration. The gear reviews that I do could potentially steer people wrong. For example, I have recommended ultra footwear to my family who's been interested in backpacking or who was looking for, that type of shoe. And out of the 5 family members that I can think of off the top of my head, my mother, sister, 2 brothers, and my husband that I have recommended ultra footwear to, only 2 of them like it, my mother and one of my brothers. The other 3 hate ultras. So you can just see how, I say I like a piece of gear. I try to explain it all comes down to personal preference. This is why I like it. And then somebody goes out and gets it and is like, man, this was not something I liked at all. Like, Dixie's terrible about making recommendations, but you don't have a one-size-fits-all thing when it comes to backpacking gear. Next, when I first started putting out informational gear videos, there wasn't a whole lot of information out there, or a whole lot of other channels at least putting out videos on the same topics, especially not from like a long distance through hiking type perspective. So I feel like these type gear videos were definitely needed at that time. But as time has gone on, it seems like the market, for a lack of better word, is saturated with information about gear and the next up and coming thing. And there are a lot of through hiking and backpacking type channels out there that put out this same information. And that's actually a really positive thing, and I am glad there are so many different perspectives out there and people explaining why they preferred something or not, because a particular viewer looking for information might be able to relate more with that person and their preferences. But as far as feeling like my particular opinion is now needed out there, you know, it just doesn't feel as necessary for me to put those type of videos out. And finally, probably the number one reason I hate making informational backpacking gear videos is somebody always accuses me of being sponsored, being paid to do a particular review, or that I've gotten a piece of gear for free to do a review. I do not do that, and it doesn't matter how many times I say in videos I don't do that, or I put in the video description that I don't accept money or gear for reviews. There always ends up being a comment that says, she must have been paid for this review, or look, Dixie's sold out now to such and such company, or man, she's still stuck on this particular tent, so they must be paying her to stay with it, or whatever. I select the gear, I purchase the gear, I make the decisions. There is nobody, you know, holding my little puppet string above me, making all of those choices for me. If you are sponsored, if you accept money for a review, if you've been given the gear that is on your channel, you have to actually disclose that. So if y'all didn't know that, you have to actually say it in the video or put it in the video description, so you can check all of my videos and you're not gonna see that, because I don't do that. It's just very frustrating to have turned down persuasive offers over the year and still get accused of doing that. But it's one of those things that I have tried to learn to just let roll off my back, and I'm still working on that. But the reasons that I will continue to make backpacking gear videos and to test backpacking gear is, one, I actually really enjoy the testing part of the gear. I like getting out in the field, I like setting it up, having something new and, you know, stimulating to do. Also, just to see the creativity that people come up with who make this backpacking gear. Once I get it out to the field, I actually appreciate and enjoy that aspect. And despite the saturation of the field, if you will, backpacking gear is probably the number one thing asked about in my Homemade Wanderlust backpacking forum group on Facebook, and probably even here in the comments on YouTube and on social media, especially for people who are just learning to backpack. So I continued putting videos out on this channel after I got done through hiking the Appalachian Trail, because I wanted people to get out on trail. I really do feel like the more people who get out and backpack and have a sense of freedom and kind of, you know, reprioritize their lives, like the world would actually be a better place, as cliche as that sounds. So I'm going to keep doing that. And if the main way I can get people to kind of get out there and like make that leap is to make them feel comfortable in their gear choices, then that's what I'm going to do. I guess the only way I'd really ever just stop making gear videos or buying new gear to test out is if I started making my own, just to mix things up and, you know, make things more interesting. And even then, I would probably still buy new gear to try out new things every once and again. So I'm just going to keep making these videos. But with all of that said, I want y'all to know that I do realize how fortunate I am to have this job. This has been the best job that I've ever had in my life. I get to go backpacking, play out in the woods, record all of the critters. It's just like an adult playground out there, and test out new gear. And I am very appreciative for this lifestyle I get to live. And because y'all watch the videos and share them with people, I'm able to continue doing so. And especially thanks to my patrons out there on Patreon who continue to support me throughout the years. So thank y'all so much for watching this video, and we will see y'all next time.